So I've been meaning to ask you, it's always kind of been on something I wanted to ask you for a while, it's been on my mind, is your approach to social media is very different than I would say a lot of other dealerships, right? I mean, if I go to your social media account, I see more pictures of people than I necessarily see pictures of cars. What you think of when you look at most dealerships, like social media accounts, it's just, let me show you all my cars, right? And they think that's social media, but you bring a very kind of a personal family element to it. So I'm curious, why?
So when I started my social media account, it was actually my own personal account that I turned into the business one. And what happened while I was doing it, I was getting a lot of interest with more personal stuff on it rather than putting pictures of cars. Because to me, I don't think people are on social media looking for cars or to purchase cars. I think it's more of brand awareness when you're putting it on social media rather than try to bombard them to purchase a vehicle. So for me, I brought in that personal factor. Like, I actually put pictures of my family. I have customers who actually send me pictures of them with their cars and their family that I post on my page. A lot of times, as I said, a lot of people on social media, I tend to make it more personal rather than business.
Well, because people want to connect with people. Like, I don't think necessarily people want to connect with products. So I always thought it was really kind of weird that almost all of the stuff we put out there has to do with the product. I mean, see, I look at your social account and I see the people. I see you guys having fun. I see you at family events. I see you guys celebrating birthdays. Okay, now I got to ask about the birthday thing, because it seems like you're celebrating a birthday every single week. So you celebrate every single staff's
birthday. I actually did a birthday for one of my staff that wasn't there. So yeah, so we did a surprise party and we told her to come by, and we got her a cake and everything. So it was pretty nice. She got surprised. And as I said, like, we're very loyal to our staff, and as I said, like, even if they don't work for us, they're still part of our Bell Auto family. And one of our things that a lot of people talk about our social media page is, like, you know, I have random people messaging me on social media and saying they love my page just because of the fact that I have happy customers in it. I have personal pictures of myself and my family. So it's not only business, it's more of my family, and I'm sharing my family with everyone else who is purchasing from Bell Auto or following Bell Auto. So I make it very personal. And as I said before, like, for my company, I want people to know the people that work there rather than you're just buying one product and you're leaving.
Yeah.
So I want loyalty from my customers as well, to make sure that we're all in this together, and we're there to help them as well throughout their process. So even if they need anything down the road, or if they have any automotive related questions, or friends or family needs advice, we're there to help them as well.
Now, it does all kind of come down to having happy customers, but to have happy customers, you have to have happy employees. At least that's the model I've always kind of had, right? It's like, the happier my employees, the happier are my customers. I saw how the two of them correlated with each other, right? So, you know, was that just something that happened with you organically, or was that kind of intentional to, let's focus on staff happiness because it'll create customer happiness?
You know what it was? Just because of the fact that I told you, like, me and my dad are very close to each other.
Yeah.
And I wanted everyone to have that relationship within the work environment. So over time, we just kind of adapted to this structure that we're all family. And before we knew it, it was just like we're becoming closer to each other, so we can share our personal stories with each other. We can ask for personal advice. We can ask for, you know, come to my house. We're having like a small gathering. So it's very one-to-one, and everybody that's there, as I said, we're very close to each other. So it's not just at work. It's like my wife is very close with one of my colleagues' wife, and they're just friends, and, like, you know, like, all the employees are friends with each other, like their families are friends through events and stuff like that. So it kind of builds that environment too, so that way it just brings everybody closer to each other.
But, you know, I also understand though that that's not necessarily for everybody. I'm going to admit something to you. It doesn't necessarily work well for me. I've tried, and, you know, I just recently
take advantage of it.
You know what? I just recently did a video kind of warning people, you know, that you don't necessarily have to like somebody to work with them, and that's kind of the premises I've always been like, look, I don't, you know, my staff's I don't like half the people that I work with. Not in the sense of like I don't appreciate what they do. I greatly appreciate what they do. It's just I'm not going to go out and have a beer with them.
Their attitude.
I'm not going to go. I'm not
relate to them.
Yeah. But their work ethic is solid, and they get stuff done. And that seems to work for me. It's not ideal. I would love to be in a place where you are, where you have that connection and that loyalty that comes from being a family environment. But I just don't think everybody can get to that place. It's not necessarily my forte. I think it's either it's something in you, or you just either you have it or you don't have it, kind of a thing.
You know what? It took a long time for us to get to the level where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I really had to weed out the people that were kind of harming the environment.
Yeah.
And as you said, there are staff members that you can't be close with them just because of many different reasons.
Sure.
But for me, I kind of put the two and two together, and if there was a conflict at work or there was an issue, I would address it. Yeah. And I would bring them up and say, okay, you know what, like, we're working together. What is it about that person that you don't like? Or what is it about the things that they do or things like that? And I would actually bring it up, and I'm not afraid of it, and I would address the other person and say, you know what, like, the things that you say to this person is hurtful, or the way you look at them, or the way you ignore them, or the way you do things is hurtful to the other person. And honestly, it's helped us a lot, and we adapted to this culture that if something happens, basically address it right away. Don't hold grudges. Don't, if someone says something about you, like, don't hold back on things. Just bring it out. If someone did say something, it might have been unintentional. It might have been something that they didn't mean to say, and maybe it was just at the moment that they said something they didn't mean. Yeah. So a lot of times we've solved a lot of issues just by talking to each other. Like, as I said, they're very mature people, the staff that I have, and we don't have those conflicts, but at the end of the day, if something does come up, we try to address it right away. And I think that's helped us a lot in the past and moving in the future, that we don't have any conflicts with our staff, because as I said, everybody treats each other as family. Yep. And if they do have anything to say to each other, if there's a problem, they'll try to resolve it themselves. If they can't resolve it, they'll come to me. And they're very surface stuff. So
I think resolution is really key if you're going to create that type of environment, right? I mean, you got to think about it. I've been in a lot of dealerships, right? Hundreds, maybe thousands of dealerships, and I got to admit to you that I don't know of a lot of dealerships that have a solid resolution strategy. It's kind of like, look, employees are going to have issues with each other. It happens. I mean, hell, I actually saw a fist fight break out one time over a split deal. You know what I mean?
No, that's true.
So it's like, I think if you're going to maintain that type of environment, you have to have that resolution strategy. Now, again, was that something that was kind of planned, or was that something that kind of came about because your goal and objective was to create that family environment?
I think what it is, it's about respect.
Okay.
And that's the main thing. So if you care about your staff, if you respect them as individuals, I think you'll have a different approach to them. A lot of times I believe in different dealerships, maybe the management who's in charge does not care about the company as much as the owners do.
Sure.
And I personally feel that hurts the company, because a lot of times those managers are there for the dollar sign and numbers.
Yep.
So they don't care about the staff that works there. They only care about the stats. And to me, we tend to do both. Mm-hmm. So it's not only about numbers, it's about the individuals working there too. So we try to make sure that all the staff and all the people that we work with is happy. And by that I mean making sure that they don't run into conflicts with each other. 100%. If there's a split deal, they're the ones who actually offer to help each other. They don't even do split deals at my dealership. Like, if someone needs help or the other person is not there, they'll be more than happy to do it for free.
That's taken years and years of empowerment into a team to be able to get to that place. And that's what I'm saying. And that's the reason I'm bringing it up, because I think people that are watching or listening to this, have to know that this is not something that happens overnight.
Exactly.
That this is, to get to that type of team and that type of environment, it does require a lot of work. And, it's not necessarily the right strategy for everybody, but it's very cool that you guys have embraced that strategy. And I think, honestly, probably of all the places I've met, it probably executed it the best.
Very effective. It's very effective. And the main thing is, like as I said, for us to be able to strategize it,
Yes.
is to have everybody as equals.
Yes.
And that's where I think we mastered it, because if by chance there are people who see themselves above the other person,
Yes.
they'll never put themselves at that level. So
I completely agree.
So if there's a manager that sales staff is doing something and they see themselves at a hierarchy level and they see themselves above that person, they'll never get themselves to apologize to that person. They'll never get themselves to come sit at a table with that person and try to negotiate with them. They'll just see themselves as someone better.
Yeah.
And I think that's why for us, it's very important that
We'll talk to you later, Abdul. We're doing a
I know.
podcast. We don't
I know. Stop interrupting me, guys. Yeah, so that's the thing. So for me, as I said, like, it's very important that we keep that relationship within each other.
Yes.
To be able to talk to each other, because if someone sees themselves above someone else within the dealership environment, I think that's when you're going to have those problems, because I used to have that ego problem with my staff in the past as well, and I think sometimes the ego gets in the way and they won't be able to get past that ego. And as I said, if
ego does affect our business in a pretty big way, doesn't it?
Big time.
The way we manage people.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, heck, the way we buy cars, the decisions we make in our processes.
100%.
You know, you said something earlier that really struck a chord with me, because, you know, I've recently commented and made a post about this, that how I really feel like from, you know, a used car manager position, that we really have to redefine what that position is. Now, you've already kind of done that. You don't have a manager. It's very different.
Not at all.
So I want to elaborate and kind of dive more into why you've chosen not to have a manager.
The thing about our dealership is we're very family oriented.
Yep.
And if you want to keep it on a personal level, I personally think the owner should be more involved in day-to-day action. A lot of my colleagues in the industry that are owners, they see themselves at another level. They don't associate with customers. They don't associate themselves with sales staff or even their employees. They feel like just because I'm paying someone to work there as a manager, they should be doing my job. And the thing that I've noticed is the manager doesn't care as much as an owner does.
Sure.
And when you run into conflicts with customers, or when there is conflicts at the dealership, they tend to favor the people that they're friends with, or they tend to favor the people that has more advantages for them to be taken sides for. So in my structure, there's no team, like there's no one-sidedness. So everybody works as a team. And
see, that's the team thing, because I mean, when you think about what like a typical used car manager role is inside most dealerships, right? I mean, they're wearing 6 or 7 different bloody hats,
exactly.
right? I mean, they gotta be a Wall Street stockbroker. They gotta be a marketing guru.
Yeah.
They gotta be a hostage negotiator. You know what I mean? Like, the list just continues to go on. And I just think to shove all of these hats, which we love to do in our industry, into one individual is not really a good idea. And you guys, I mean, are really kind of the proof in that pudding. You guys have taken all of those different hats and kind of, you know, shared all of the responsibilities amongst your team, or certain team members are wearing a bigger percentage of the hat than others are. But it never comes down to kind of one person's responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility.
Good thing you pointed on that. I think one of the key to our success is the fact that we share the work.
Yeah.
That's very important. Like, my staff right now, like, we have a huge showroom, and it's not one person's responsibility to take care of the showroom. I've divided the showroom into different sections, and every section has someone in charge of that section. Mm-hmm. So assuming if it's price tags, if the car needs gas, if the battery doesn't start, or whatever else, there is a person in charge to let someone know that this car has a problem. And the individuals who are working in the back as service people and mechanics are the ones who tend to take care of these things.
Sure.
And they need to have communication within each other. And a lot of times, if there's no communication, or they don't know who to turn to or who to talk to, I think that's where the problem starts. Because a lot of times there are good people within the company that want to help out, they want to do things, and they tell the manager, but the manager is so busy, he tends to forget, or he tends to do other things that are more important, and a lot of things get basically put in the drawer and they don't look at
the
them.
jack of all trades, master of nothing kind of scenario, right? But you guys have totally avoided that scenario because you have defined masters of certain aspects of the business that are required to have someone's full attention on a regular basis.
Yeah, basically it's training.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and follow through. So one of our key to success is we have weekly meetings, we have daily meetings, and they're very quick. We're not there talking for hours. It's just like literally grouping each other, knowing what we're planning for the day or for the next little while, like a couple hours, and we're gonna go do it. Like it's kind of like a basketball game or a baseball game that, you know, this is your time now. Like this is the game. Put your game face on, and that's it. Go do what you got to do. Don't leave it till tomorrow. Don't leave it for the next game. And for me, like, this is funny how we're getting to that right now. I see myself as a coach, and I see my guys as my dream team. Yes. And I tell them, like, you guys are my dream team. So I have my staff, and everyone within that team is the best at what they do. Yeah. And we work as a team. So my structure is like a sports team. It's not like, okay, you know what, like, there's someone on top that we got like the superstar, and then we got the runners, and then we got this, we got the mechanic. So everybody's as equals, and everybody's part of this dream team. And being part of that dream team, you have to be the best at it. If you want to maintain your position, if you want to be successful in what you do, you have to be part of that dream team, and you have to do it. And it's done through training, it's done through exercises, it's done through basically repeating your steps, follow through, having results.
It's practice, practice, practice.
So that's the thing. Like, it's very important that
it's just but it's taking that professional sports approach that really does show. You know what? I've seen other teams do a really good job of that, right? Of understanding that this is a team environment. Right? You're gonna have certain team members that are gonna have other talents than others. Exactly. But it's just putting the right player in the right place in the right environment for them to really grow into it. And I find too often we end up putting people into positions that it's not necessarily their strength. You know what I mean? Like, look, if they're great at pressing the ball down the court, then that's the positions they should be playing, and they don't necessarily need to be shooting, right?
That's exactly our approach as well. So as we were getting into that, like, as I said, like, I have the dream team, and my guys, I honestly tell them that they're part of the dream team and be proud of it. Like, we're probably one of the best used car dealerships in the GTA. We've got numerous awards. We're the Consumer's Choice. We won the Consumer's Choice Award.
The last 6-7 years in a row.
6-7 years, and we have a very good Google rating. We're at 4.7 with over 400 reviews. It's really hard to maintain a 4.7 Google review with so many reviews. Because
I have to applaud also your guys' consistency in responding to them.
Yes,
you guys are definitely put a significant amount of weight on that, and you must have developed out a solid process to not only ask for it, but also maintain the conversation, the communication efforts back and forth, so that even a bad review is not necessarily a bad review for you. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen, change it. It's like, look, we're just willing to have the open conversation. We understand you feel that way. Look, perception is truth, not truth is truth, right? So we understand you perceive that as your truth. We're not going to disagree with you, but we want to work with you, all right, so that we can, find a happy medium somewhere. And so tell me about the Google reviews, because you guys do, again, also excel hugely with your Google reviews. When did that start, and how did that process kind of come about?
Well, basically, with our Google reviews, I wasn't really into it in the beginning until I had customers coming in and asking for certain individuals at the dealership to sell them cars, which I thought it was really odd. And then we realized that people are actually using Google reviews to find their salesperson as well. So it's not just about a matter of getting the reviews for the company. It's about your staff. For me, I think I'm one of the very few dealerships that allows my salespeople to be in the photos. And take photos with the customers. And I've gotten heat for it from other dealers because they're telling me, what if that individual no longer
that's always been the thing, right? Especially on the social side. I know we were talking about it earlier, but there was always that what if. There's a fear factor that seems to go into that.
So for me, as I said, like, I tell them I want my guys to excel above and beyond while they're with me. So I've had managers working for me and they didn't want to teach my staff certain things. Like, let's say, submitting deals, or how to do certain things within the dealership.
They withhold knowledge because it creates power,
and they're scared that they're going to take that knowledge next door.
Yeah.
So I kind of went above and beyond that, and I said, okay, if I have my loyal people with me, my dream team, and they're going to stay with me as long as they're going to stay with me,
Yeah.
why don't I make sure that they blossom to the fullest? And for me, honestly, I'm very proud of my team, and I'm very happy to post their pictures on my social media, my own personal social media as well, to say, you know what, I do work with these individuals within my team, and they are part of my family. So my sales staff, they are my family. I don't mind having their photo with a customer on my page. I'm not greedy like some other dealers who just say, you know what, get out of the photo, I want my customer for my dealership.
Well, you know what, it just says a lot about your compassion, your empathy, and your excitement for creating the team. But what I think even says more is that your excitement and compassion for people that are no longer working for you. Like, you were just totally cool with it.
Yes.
You're happy that you're actually legitly happy, right? That they've moved on and they're trying other things. That's a little different.
That's the thing, because as I said, like, for me, honestly, like, I'm happy for everyone that's worked for me. We became to a level that we became friends.
Yeah.
And for myself, I'm very proud of the fact that my wife...
We can turn around whenever you want.
No worries. My wife doesn't think that I can judge people, but I think I'm a very good judge of people. So the way I do things is I tend to go based on my gut feeling and based on individuals. So let's say if I like somebody, that's it. You're on my good side. And my wife is like, why are you always giving everyone the benefit of the doubt? Why are you so close with these individuals? Why are you so close with your employees? As a boss, you should have that level. And I think that's
but it's worked for you. It may not work for everybody, but for you as an individual,
that's 100% what it is. And I want people to know out there that, you know what, even if you're close with your coworkers, it doesn't mean that they're gonna walk all over you one day and things like that. You just gotta judge people and see how they are.
Sure.
And for me, I think my success has been the fact that I'm very open to people. I put everybody on top, and they're the ones who basically, over time, let me know where they are.
Yeah.
So someone can go down on my scale, or someone can stay where they are and where they started. So for me, as I said, it's very different structure. Like, I don't start people at the bottom and they got to work their way up. I kind of put everybody on top.
Sure.
And see if they can maintain that level, or they're going to move down on the scale.
That's a very, very different methodology, right? You understand that, our entire industry is built on starting from a bottom as far as, what I think of you as an individual in my respect and so on and so forth. And then through time, your activities and your efforts, and you will earn more and more of my loyalty and respect. You are, on the other hand, of the polar opposite.
Yes.
You will get all my loyalty and respect, but through your activities, you will either maintain or you will slowly start losing it.
Exactly.
That's cool, dude. That's a mindset
Yeah.
that I don't think a lot of people are able to maintain.
I think I'm gifted with it. So
I
tell
think
my
you
wife
are,
that I'm
honestly.
gifted with it. No, I'm kidding.
All right, so let's just make sure if the wife's watching. What's her name?
Frida.
Frida, you married a genius.
Yes.
We'll just throw that out there.
I know.
Thank you, Jason.
I'll pay you after for that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to cut that part just for free.
I know.
So, okay, I want to transition the conversation a little bit because we're in a pandemic.
100%, yes.
Gosh, man. Both me and you've been in this business for a long time. You've been in it longer than I have.
Yeah, we've seen it.
You've seen a lot of
Never
things.
seen it like this, though.
Yeah, right.
Never seen it like this.
I just all of the strategies that I have from operations and marketing and I just had to literally throw everything out the window, man, and just realize that this is an entirely different world and environment. And I think it's through acknowledging that, accepting that, and then recreating what those operational strategies and marketing strategies are going to do. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but there are a fair amount of people out there that are still just waiting for shit to get back to normal.
100%.
And I don't know how you feel about it. I personally don't think we are. This just is our normal now.
Exactly.
From a social perspective, and we've yet to feel the economics of this yet. So I mean, there's just a lot to come. But I want to kind of get your thoughts and feelings of kind of like the environment right now and how you guys as a business are approaching it.
Well, the reality is, being in business for such a long time, you have to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that a lot of people cannot do, especially with their personal life or with business. And I realize that if you want to be successful in business, you have to be able to be like the chameleon, change colors and move around and be where the environment takes you. Right now with the COVID, you need to change your business structure and your business model. And a lot of people, as you said, are just waiting to see what's going to happen.
Yep.
Right now, like as I said, we've adapted to a lot of things that we're actually trying to implement right now, and changes are happening within our dealership as well.
Okay.
About how we're actually coping with COVID.
Can you give me a couple examples?
Some of those things is we're actually designing a whole new website, which is in the works right now, and it's almost
Very
being
cool.
finished, which is basically you can do everything online. So from choosing your car, leaving a deposit, purchasing your car, to home delivery.
Very cool.
Which is, a lot of people, it's kind of hard for them to adapt to that structure as consumers as well.
Well, I mean, for the last 60 years, we've been doing everything we can to get them into the dealership.
Exactly. Now you don't want them coming in.
Yeah.
So right now, as I said, this was something I was working on before as well. Before COVID, as the market was changing, everything was going online with like Amazon and every company being able to do your purchases online as well as in the store. So I told myself, I'm like, why don't I come up with this new model of being able to purchase vehicles online, having them delivered to the consumer. But to me, when I was thinking about this, it was kind of like a 2-3 year process for me to get involved in it, you know, to get to that level. But I think once COVID hit, I think it kind of
Just pushed everything.
everything faster. And right now, as I said, like we bought a trailer to basically put the cars in and, you know, deliver it, you know, anywhere in Ontario, or even like, you know, do shipping out of the province. And to us, as I said, like as market is changing, I think a lot of dealers should invest into online purchasing, so for consumers to be able to purchase online, leave deposits online, and also home delivery.
Sure.
Because I think that's where it's going, and the industry is changing.
Oh, dude, we're seeing the stats right now on a regular basis. I mean, I have dealerships that are exceeding, you know, year over year internet leads that are up 100, 110, 120%. They doubled more. It's not that the customer is not there. They're still there. They're just not in your digital, or your sorry, they're not in your physical dealership. They're in your digital dealership. So it's just how can we facilitate that? And I think it's really cool that you're developing, you're making the commitment in time, which is a big one, and in money, all right, to invest in that digital buying experience.
Because the time is changing as well. Like if you don't do it, you're gonna fall behind. Like it's just like those other dealers who, you know, didn't go online, or, you know, they're not taking pictures or not even advertising online. I know a few dealers that are not advertising and they're hoping to sell cars.
Dude, I remember like very early on in my career actually having a conversation with a dealership about a website, and just straight faced, I mean 100% straight faced, that we don't need one of those. People come into our dealership. That this whole internet thing's a fad. It'll be gone in a couple of years. Like, I wish I had cameras back then, because like it almost sounds like I'm making this shit up, you know. But that was a real thing, and I feel like we're in a similar position now, where people are like, no one's gonna buy a car online. Like, you're ridiculous. I don't need anything like that.
You know, like back then, I remember like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah,
we had a website. I think
you were early then.
Yeah, I think
for
out
some
of
cases,
everyone that I knew, like all the dealers, I think I was the only one with a website. And as you said, they were mocking me. They're like, why do you have a website? Who goes on the website? Nobody goes to you. Everybody goes on Auto Trader. You know, that was the thing. And right now, like as you said, like Google is taking over, and, you know, people are changing their habits of how they're purchasing vehicles, and they're more comfortable doing their purchases online, as opposed to like maybe even 5 years ago. So times are changing, and we have to make sure we adapt to the changes that are happening, because as you said too, if you don't evolve, you're going to fall behind. And there are other companies who are actually light years ahead of me that I need to catch up with as well. So like I don't want to
that's true.
be
There are
at the
other
end of the
companies,
pack.
other verticals that have already, gone to this level.
Yeah.
So it's weird for us to say as an industry that's not going to happen.
100%.
It's, it's like, look, I think it was always going to happen. I think what COVID has done is just
sped up the
it
process.
just sped up the, of where we'll potentially be. Look, there's always been a small percentage of people that are willing to buy a car online. I mean, I remember, running a BDC, 13 years ago, all right, and drop shipping Corvettes all over the country. We'd have someone come out, notary, do the paperwork with them, and we'd ship them the car. Like, it was just that simple.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that the customer hasn't existed. The customer's always existed. I think the customer has just now got to the point now where they're just more accepting or willing to be open to that type of process.
Yes.
Maybe not 100% completely online, but 60, 70, 80, 90, it's moving. Then you add on the fact that just from a business operations perspective, COVID is going to force us to do it. Like, look, look, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer or a doom and gloom type of person, but look, we're staring down the barrel of another closure. I hope to God it doesn't happen, right? But I just think it's crazy that we're not preparing ourselves for this, or at least having the bloody conversations of what if.
What if? Yeah, exactly.
What if this happens? What if that happens? How do we approach it? Are these I'm sure you guys probably have these conversations on a regular basis.
Every day. And one of the things that we're doing to adapt to these changes, as you said too, like trying to get on board sooner than later, because right now, like as you said, there might be other companies who already evolved to this selling tactic, and they're kind of taking over the market.
Yeah.
And we're just waiting to see what's going to happen. And as I said, like there's a lot of changes that are happening in the industry itself as well that we need to prepare ourselves for. One of the advantages that we have right now is our reputation, and most dealers should really care about their online reputation, because
it's going to be more important now than it ever has.
That's exactly what it is, and they're taking it for granted. Like one of my friends, he's got a dealership. I think his Google review is like at 4.2 or 4.3, and he doesn't respond to Google reviews, and he doesn't have that many. But I told him, I'm like, why don't you do something about it? And he just says, you know what? I'm selling cars right now. I don't need it.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I can't tell you how often.
Yeah.
I have a word for it. I call it full belly syndrome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're full already. They don't need it.
Right? Like, how it is, like, it's Thanksgiving, you just had a big meal, you're like,
they don't need to change right now. There's no
I don't
need to do anything.
I don't need to do anymore. I have enough. And I feel like it's kind of plaguing our industry right now, is this full belly syndrome. And I feel very much so right now more than ever, because the last few months we've come off some really solid months as an industry, right? True. We were closed for 3 or 4 months.
I think it's like an elastic band, so right now it's like everything that was holding back, it's like they let go, so it's like your sales like quadrupled.
Yeah, and so it's like everybody's just they're constantly talking about what they have accomplished, not what they could have accomplished. And my fear is that that's going to put some of dealerships out there in a very bad spot.
100%, especially like the smaller dealers.
Yes.
And like for me, I'm very busy throughout my time. Like honestly, I don't have time to eat sometimes. Sometimes I eat like at 4 in the afternoon.
That's not what it is.
And the problem is I go to some of my friends' dealerships and they're just sitting there on the computer doing nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you do it? Like, what is it? And the thing is too, as you said, like they're not motivated. They're not advanced.
So let's talk about it, because I think that's a good one, because it's a mindset, right? I mean, think about this. The whole time that I've been at your store, we've been shooting video, been recording a podcast, all right? You haven't stopped operating. We've had to take cuts in between. I got to deal with this, I got to deal with this, I got to deal with this. Like, it doesn't stop for you. So I'm curious, where did that come from? Is that something you kind of got from your dad, or is that something that just kind of came from you, or is it a combination of everything?
I think this is another gift that I have.
Okay.
I can multitask. I can be talking to somebody right now and writing something for someone else and being on the phone with someone. And honestly, my guys are saying, like, how do you multitask with that? And my thing is too, I don't forget things. I don't leave things behind and say, okay, I'm going to do it another day. And I think the main reason to someone's success is for you to be able to tackle your obstacles right there and then.
Yep.
don't wait for it. Don't just wait and hope that it'll go away, because it'll just get worse and it's going to be harder for you to face it later. So for me, as I said, like any challenge or any obstacle that I have in my life, even if let it be personal or in business, I try to face the challenge when it happens, and try to solve the challenge as well. Not just say, okay, you know what, okay, now I know about it, now let's move on. So especially in the auto industry, like you have a lot of customers who call you for different reasons, and for us to be able to be where we are, I have to know my customers on first name levels. I have to know them when they walk in the dealership. I have to know who they are.
Sure.
So to me, to be able to do that with your customers is very important, because as I said, like if there's a hierarchy, and when a customer walks in and they feel like, every time they come in, there's different staff. Every time they come in, there's different faces.
They got to talk to six different people.
They got to explain themselves. Exactly. They got to explain themselves 5 times. I think that's where the big advantage we have is for us being able to take care of our customers on a personal level.
So I got to ask you this. What you're describing is something I call the marathon. Is that this is not a race. And I feel like in the industry we're always kind of racing, right? It's the 1st to the 30th. It's the beginning of the quarter to the end of the quarter. It's the beginning of the year to the end. Like it's always a race. But I find visiting so many dealerships is that some of the most successful dealerships don't look at it as this start and finish race, but what they do is they look at it as an ongoing marathon that never really has an end. So they personally find this pace that is comfortable with them, and they just continue to always run this pace from the second they clock in, in the morning to the second that they clock in at night. They run that pace. So, I'm curious for you, like, there has to be this self-awareness, right, for you to be able to know how you run that pace. Is this just, again, another gift, or is this something you had to work at to get to that point where you're consistently running at that pace?
I think when you've been doing something for so long, I think it just comes natural.
That's true.
Because like as I said, like I've been doing this 20 years, and just like any other business, at first you have your struggles, you have your challenges, you need to adapt to certain structures. And as I said, like for me, I think maybe my advantage or disadvantage is the fact that I've only worked at my own dealership the whole time, and I'm the one who implemented anything that actually exists in that company. So it's like kind of like trial and error. And I think people shouldn't be scared of trying new things, because a lot of times, as you said, they don't want to do anything because the structure they have works for them, and they're just going to wait till see how far the structure can take them. But on the other hand, like I think they should challenge themselves to a different level to see what challenges they can face themselves with, and how can they resolve those challenges. Because as you said, nobody knew COVID was coming, and half the people weren't prepared for it, and like a lot of dealerships actually shut down. Like a couple of my close friends had to close down their dealerships because of expenses and their own personal reasons. They couldn't keep afloat. They couldn't keep the doors open.
Well, I think what it kind of sounds like to me is that mindset that you have is that you're running your race, your marathon, but it's a marathon of one. You're not running against others.
That's
you know
exactly
what I mean? So it's like, so you're constantly taking and more constantly running your race, because it's just you doing it. And
good thing you said
you don't have these outside sources,
100%.
right?
The good thing you said that, because I personally feel in this industry, there's a lot of dealers that look to see what other people are doing
constantly,
and they fall behind on their own race. And you said it perfectly, because for me, like honestly, like I don't know what goes on inside my box. I don't talk to dealers. Not that I don't talk to them. I talk to them, but I don't care to know how many they're selling. I don't care to know what they're doing. I got my own style of selling. I got my style of running a business. The only thing I can do is educate myself and my staff through training, podcasts, through different resources that's available to us. Not what next door is doing or what the other guy is doing, so that way I can copy what they're doing or whatever else. Because as you said, do whatever that works for you.
Run your race.
Run your race.
I like horse racing. I don't not necessarily the betting, like I bet because it's fun, but I love going to horse races. I think it's just really cool. But the thing with horse races is that they put these little side blinders on, right? So they can't see the horses to the left or to the right of them. And I find that some of the most successful owners, operators that I've met in this industry kind of has like these naturally built-in, side blinders where they put these blinders on and they're just running
your race.
race.
That's the thing. You don't know what's going on behind you. That's
you
me.
have no idea.
That's exactly.
No idea. I didn't know they were doing that.
That's exactly me right now. Like as you said too. Like for me, the way I operate my business, I'm just in my little box, and we're just like everyone's full force. And the best thing that I think I can do for my staff is to train them. And make sure they get updated regularly, because a lot of salespeople that I do hire that I've had in the past, they don't want to change.
No.
And that's the problem that I see happening with a lot of people in this industry. They don't want to change at all, like even as salespeople.
And especially with salespeople, right? And I struggle understanding that. I usually try to do a really good job of just being open and understanding, other people's truths, because I understand it's just their truth. But I do truly don't understand the concept behind the fear of change. It's like, but I think that's just because we're running a marathon and we got the blinder on, we're running a race. It's like we almost just kind of embrace it. We expect that it's going to happen, and when that hurdle comes, we're just going to jump over it. We're just going to continue to move forward.
We're just waiting to see what comes towards you.
So like for us, that's kind of built in. But how do you train someone? I'm just curious your thoughts of like how do you train someone to put those blinders on and not be afraid of change, but rather embrace it?
The thing with my staff is, especially my sales guys, I try to keep them motivated.
Yeah.
And I try to assist them and help them and guide them. At the end of the day, everybody is their own individual. There's only so much you can do for a person.
Sure.
But having the right staff is very important. Like for some individuals, they're afraid to get rid of someone that's been there for them for 15 years, but they're useless. Just because the fact that they've been there for 15 years doesn't mean that they're good. It just means that they've been working for you for that long. And for me, I love change, and I think some of the best things that happened to my company was because of change.
Sure.
Because you don't want to be at the same level that you will always been. And these changes will happen with big movements.
When you embrace the change, you actually grow through it, and you almost kind of next level up.
And
like a video game, you just kind of like go to the next level.
Always improve the change, and that's, as I said, like it's hard to change because we're just, as humans, we're kind of used to what works for us, and if it's working, don't change it. But sometimes, if you kind of take an educated step towards something and basically see the benefits that's going to bring you, you will dedicate your time to make the change.
100%. Actually, you know what? And on that, I know our time is up. This has been so much fun. But for everyone out there that's watching and listening and would love to kind of follow along with you and the Bell Auto journey, what is the best way for someone to connect with you?
Best way for me, as I said, you can follow me on social media. It's Bell Auto 1. But with me on a personal level, you can always call me or text me. And I think that's what it is with Jason as well. Like if you can get in contact with someone, I think that's the best way for the individual to be able to change themselves as well, because you can connect with that person. They're not hiding in the back office. They're not, they're not saying you got to go through this person or that person to get through me. I think on a personal level, for myself, and I want everybody to know, I tend to respond to every one of my emails or text messages or my phone calls. If you go through the trouble of calling someone or asking for assistance or just, being there, I think the least the other person can do is appreciate you reaching out to them and connect with them.
Well, dude, this has been so much fun.
Same here.
It's been a lot of fun, dude.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I'll see you next time. See you guys.